Alrighty, everybody, listen up. So, I know we've been talking a lot about traveling, okay? Because I've had a lot of, obviously incredible traveling stories, okay? Because I'm just me, alright? And I have had the honor, I've had the luxury, I've had the great experience of being able to travel all over the globe, and not just the United States, okay? Because the United States is great, but there's a lot of great experiences that you can get from traveling around the globe. And guess what? Traveling around the globe makes you appreciate your home a heck of a lot more, okay? Like they said in my favorite show, The Office, okay? There was one episode of The Office where they were saying how, one person was upset about not winning the lottery. They could have won a ton of money, and they could have quit their jobs and done this and done that. But what I loved about this particular episode is that one person went up there in front of the screen, in front of the camera, sorry, and was like, "Hey, I already won the lottery. I was born in the U.S. of A, baby." All right, so that's like a mentality that I kept with all this time. Was like, hey, there's no greater luxury than being in the United States of America and being a citizen of the USA. So with that being said, let's dive right in. All right, like I said, the last time I was able to take a service trip to Ecuador. Okay, this was my February break of my senior year. Okay, so the summer of my junior year, I went to on a 2-week trip to China. Right, I made some great videos about it, and obviously not a lot of you have seen them yet. But you're really missing out, so might as well see that video after I make this one. And so, the February break of my senior year, a lot of us went on multiple different service retreats or service trips to help out a different community within the United States of America, but as well as around the world. Okay, and this trip that I went on was to Ecuador for the week. And what we did was it was through a partnership with an organization called Rostro de Christo, where they have several volunteers go down there for a year at a time. And they go into what they do is it's actually like a great organization. It's really cool. So if you ever have the time, make sure you look them up. Rostro de Christo, and it's fantastic. Okay. And so what they do is they go into some of the poorest towns and cities within the country of Ecuador, and they really help build up the community, build up the town, and really make sure they do economically well. And by the time the town itself is really self-sustaining, and really kind of benefiting itself on its own. Like the Rostro de Cristo organization will eventually move to a different area and really essentially do the same thing over and over and over again. So it's a really incredible work that they're doing. Definitely worth your time to look up and look into. But the leaders that they have in this organization are absolutely wonderful people. Okay, the folks that were helping us down when we were down there were great people. Okay. Still in touch with a couple of them up to this day. And right now, one of the folks I was really close with, he's now getting a degree, either his master's or his doctoral degree at Duke, which is about an hour and 15 minutes away from me. So that was super awesome to hear. But let's continue to dive right into this Ecuador trip, all right? Because I really want to at least touch upon some of the big points rather than the day-to-day points, just to really kind of wrap up this travel series and kind of hammer everything down. Okay, because we do have one more trip I have to talk about after this, and then I really want to just continue on with some other stuff. Okay, so the flight, we flew out of Boston as we usually do, as I usually do. Again, was able to fly with my friends on American Airlines. Do a fantastic job as always. And let's go down there. We got down there pretty late at night, it was really interesting because we flew into what was known as pretty much the wealthiest city in Ecuador, at least at the time. And so there were really two riverways. And once we got into the van, to head to where the place that we were staying with Rostro de Cristo, there were really kind of two major riverways that we had to cross over. And the second time we crossed over like a different river, that was essentially the major dividing line between the very, very wealthy and the very, very, very poor. Okay. And so we crossed over, got to our place that night, and essentially throughout the week, what we did was we helped out with a lot of the children, and because what Rostro does is they do a lot of work with the children, and like they lead like groups where children can go every day, and like while their parents are working, and really like learn English, learn math, learn a whole bunch of different subjects. Okay, and they also can play like a ton of games. So it's great. It's great for the kids within each community, not only to get together, but get like the Rostro de Christo. They provide like a really great education for these kids. So it's really a 2-in-1 deal. All right, and not only that, but during the day, like this provides their parents and their families to be able to go out and work and make money and really help the family just get the financial resources that they need and a whole bunch of other resources that they need in order to really build kind of like a very affluent and fruitful life, which is awesome. So we did a lot of work with the kids, and I have to tell you, we played a ton of soccer, which was awesome. And I just kind of realized that made me really realize how terrible I am at soccer and how soccer is not my sport. Okay. And these kids, I'll tell you, these kids were awesome at it, and they definitely have a future in on the soccer side of things. So I'm sure I'll see some of these kids someday out in the professional soccer world, and I'll be extremely happy when that happens. And so we really formed some like great relationships with these kids. I mean, these kids were absolutely incredible. And I would have loved to have met some more of their parents, because I'm sure their parents are incredible people as well. And so we also went around different parts of the country into some of the other towns and villages. Because what happens is that, these really kind of wealthy people buy these huge chunks of land, and they tell the people living they tell people like, hey, come and move onto my property. I'll make sure you guys have like a great life and great homes and a whole bunch of money and all that. And so all these people, a whole bunch of people believe them. And then they kind of realize like that once they sell their own house and, they basically give up their livelihoods and all that to move to this property, they kind of eventually realize that the wealthy landowners basically lied to them. And they essentially get themselves in a whole bunch of trouble, and they like the property owners essentially leave it up to these other people to essentially live on their own and basically figure out, okay, you're on your own, see ya, have fun. So it's a really kind of a messed up situation, and it's really kind of depressing to see all these incredible people just trying to barely make it by. And so we were able to travel around to some of these poor communities and be able to talk with, some of the church organizations and some of these missionary folks on ways on how they're really trying to build their communities up and, try to help out a whole bunch of people that can't really afford to help themselves. And there was this one place that we went to where some of these folks were building this kind of what it looked like a house, but it was really intended to be a school. And on the outside of it, they were building a pond and putting a whole bunch of fish in, and they really wanted to be in like an environmental center as well, so that not only could the kids like get an education, but they could also allow the kids to really kind of study, the wildlife and fish and all that cool stuff, so that way they can apply some of the things they learned to the actual world, which was awesome. But when we were in that particular town, what really caught our eye and what really, kind of upset a lot of us was that, we were really fortunate, with every single thing that we had, because we were like extremely lucky. We all do. We all have a lot of stuff to be thankful for. And, we were riding around the little village in a van, and, not a lot of people in that area even has a car or or motor, even a dirt bike. Not even like a lot of people doesn't even have don't even have that. And there was one person who their house was flooded with water, and they were trying as hard as they could to not only have the dirt soak up all this water, but they were trying to literally shovel water out of their living room. And we just remember seeing this person just kind of standing there as we drove by. And they were working like crazy, and I had to get they were working like crazy to try to just do this simple act of just for their family. And there we are, passing right by in the van. It was just a really big scene and really big moment that not only myself but everybody else that I was with essentially won't forget. And it was just crazy. And it was just that look that he gave us, I could tell in his face that he was like, darn, all the stuff that I would do to have their life and have the ability to have that van and be able to drive it and be able to go essentially anywhere I wanted and be able to work somewhere else and make a ton of money and all that. And here we are, being in Ecuador for a week and having that plane ticket back to Boston, and then going on and getting a great education in the best private high school in this central Massachusetts. It's that really, I think, at least for me, that was really my big focal point of the trip, and how that really just turned my whole kind of viewpoint of things upside down. It was that really made me take a step back and be like, okay, this stuff is legit. And so, I do want to keep a lot of the stuff that we experienced, amongst ourselves, because it's really one of those things where I can say as much as I want about it, but you just kind of have to be there to experience it. You know what I mean? But what I loved about the trip was that just to be able to see all the look on the kids' faces every single day, and just to us it didn't really seem like much work, but to these kids, what we were doing, meant just an incredible amount of it just meant a lot to these kids that we were able to take our time out of our day and be able to take care of them. Okay, and so what I loved, not only that, but I also loved how towards the end of the day, we all cooked dinner together. We all cleaned up all the dishes together. And that really, I think that moment, although, to a lot of folks in America, cooking dinner and, doing the dishes and all that, it's not really a big deal. But for a group of 10 to 12, guys, who spent, 4 years of high school together, that's basically, the whole idea of just being together and celebrating togetherness and all of that. That was a great moment, and that's a moment that I looked forward to every single day. And what I loved also is that every night, before we went to bed, we read some stuff from the Bible. We went over some, what we did each and every day, and we were just telling each other how we felt about everything. You know what I mean? Because I feel like in our lives and here in the United States, our lives are just so constant. We're just so rapidly involved with just so many other things that we often don't take the time every day to just stop, reflect, and be able to talk with one another how we actually feel. I mean, if we're able to do that, even if it's for an hour a day, we would be so happier as a culture, and we would be so much, I think, better as a culture, honestly, and because it makes a huge difference. It makes a very big difference. And so I can tell you, as soon as we got back to the United States, it was great being able to see these guys, inside and outside the classroom, and being able to see how, we were all able to change and grow, not only together, but, grow personally. And I can say, those guys were some of my best friends leaving the country of Ecuador, and some of these folks I can still call my best friend today. And honestly, the next time, every time I see them, it's always a great honor and great joy. And the next time I see them, it'll be the same thing as well. So So again, I wanted to keep this Ecuador trip brief. Kind of give you some a couple of highlights from it. Really, because I just want to keep some of this. I do want to keep some stuff private. But I just figured, Ecuador is a great country. Ecuador was a great learning experience for all of us, and I really, really thoroughly enjoyed it. So without further ado, I will be concluding my travel trip update series, whatever you want to call it, later on today, and it will be concluding with my trip to Canada. So I'll be finishing up that. I'll be finishing that up later on today. So be sure you turn in, you turn up, you watch it, because it's something you will not want to miss, okay? So until I see you in a little bit, stay safe, stay healthy, keep having fun, and peace out from the Steady Dream Team.